Oh, I am Mr. Green. This is the Mr. Green Show where we discuss the intersection between family and finance. This is your first time to the show. The structure of the show is basically like this. I find an article, I take the article and I kind of flip it. It's usually a finance article, and I try to flip it and relate it to family and finance. All right. So let me share my screen. All right. So today's topic and today's article is the 7 characteristics of a great financial leader. The 7 characteristics of a great financial leader. And basically, we're going to talk about how to be a great financial leaders in our families, right? That's the flip for this article. So yeah, how to be a better financial leader for your family. So basically, it was to give a background of my financial journey and how I'm going to talk about this topic. I have always been a real estate investor since 2000. We I ended up purchasing my first investment property. I can remember like it was yesterday. The banker calls me and says, "Hey, you purchased your first property. We haven't had a conversation with you to talk about some of the other products that we have at the bank. This is my very first mortgage." So I go into the bank. I have a conversation with the banker, and he says, "Look, we see that since you purchased your property, you have significant equity." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Do you want to access the equity?" I said, "Well, what do you mean access the equity?" "Well, there's a few ways, but one way we discuss here in the bank is having a line of credit, right? We give you a line of credit, and you can access it when you want. And we'll basically charge you an interest rate on the amount you use." So I said, wow. He said, I said, "Well, just explain a little bit." So basically, we'll go in, sign some paperwork, and it's kind of like the process when you receive the mortgage, but a lot less paperwork. So I went home, thought about it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe should I? So I said, well, wow, if I had like 10 of these properties, and if this one's has a significant equity, I could really have a high net worth, if I got, 5 or 10 of these properties. Went back, long story short, went back to the banker, decided, okay. And then I had I have the equity line and used it. I used some of it for probably some things I shouldn't, but also I used it to buy more properties. And I ended up having 20 plus units, total units in real estate. Units is measured by doors, right? So every door, you consider that a unit because every door is income generating. A tenant stays in that door, and that tenant will generate income, right? So going on, doing well. I end up during the time I end up, also going back to school, getting my master's in finance, as well as having a kid during that period of time, getting married, having a kid during that period of time. And it was a lot, but the real estate was doing well. I was generating income. I did have some issues that I had I had some problems, collecting rents, trying to, having stabilizing the units. And I got introduced to programs, different programs where they pay you every month, guaranteed. They pay you a certain amount. So I ended up stabilizing my units. I had this one program, and the program actually had about 70% of my units. And mistake number one, right? You never have one customer making a large percentage of your income. Well, I made that mistake. So I end up, myself and the program manager that I was dealing with, we didn't get on. We had a falling out in regards to some of the tenants, and I just had some disagreements on some of the things that we had to work through. So we decided to part ways. So that was like 60-70% of my units, and so I ended up having those units vacant, right? So having those units vacant, I was, as a real estate investor, you never want to have units vacant. You always want to have units filled. And so at the time, I, finally, frustrated, started talking to my wife, which I would just handle the real estate on my own and would not really involve my wife in those things, those decisions. And my wife basically said, Donald, look, you have to decide like how many of the units do you really need occupied just to stay at a level pace? So I end up doing the math, hey, if, because of, the units, they weren't very expensive properties. So the mortgages were very low. And so I could operate, really at the at a 30% occupancy and still, cover my bills. I wouldn't really make any money, but I wouldn't really lose too much money. And what I learned is that sometimes it's better to have a vacant unit than an occupied unit, because when it's occupied, the units can be expensive, right? So, finally, decided just to operate, get through school, had a new baby and working through those things. And I decided to then begin to sell some of the units. So, really the last few years, real estate has been great. Those units that weren't occupied, I decided to sell them. I didn't make as much as I wanted to, but I did make something. With real estate, one thing about time is that, you pay down the mortgages, and because of deflation and the devaluation of a dollar, the prices of real estate hard assets usually go up. Not all the time, but they usually will go up. So that allowed me to get some of the appreciation and just take it and put the money in the bank. And I know a lot of times don't hold cash. Cash is good. Okay, I look, cash does not have headache. Doesn't you don't have management or capital. Real estate is capital intensive, right? Meaning you have to put capital in it. You have to repair your units. You have to do all those particular things to keep the units going, to keep the business going. Cash, you don't have to, it's not capital intensive. It could just sit there. Now you may not earn a high return, but it still allows you to make some other decisions. Instead of being, 90% of my wealth was in real estate. And now it's diversified more in securities, and in the stock market, still have some real estate assets. But it was a really, really big learning process for me. And if you own a business, you will understand that, you go through your ups and downs, but really, you really learn. That's the whole process. So that's kind of like my financial journey. And let me tell you how this relates to the topic. An article by the article was by Innovation Enterprise. And it discussed 7 characteristics of great financial leaders. And so I just thought about some of the things about what I went through and how, I improved, and I'm still trying to improve to be a better financial leader. The number one on the list was communication, right? So let's talk sharing financial performance with your family. That's not something that I really do. I would just, with my wife, basically, it's my real estate. I felt like it's my real estate, but it's really our real estate once you get married. But I was young, and sharing financial performance, going over the numbers with my wife. And I know that doesn't have a large interest in real estate, but she really, really has to know what's going on. And I didn't do that. And, and just recently I discussed this with her, and she was like, look, you could do better at that. So, one thing I decided to do is creating, financial documents so we can discuss the financial performance. And I'll probably do this on a weekly basis on a property and our other investments to have her be more informed, as well as my boys. My boys are younger. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I talk to them about money all the time. And really, really having and sitting down with them and discussing the current performance of our portfolio of equities and real estate and what's going on with it, as well as our cash positions. Right. So That's one thing that you could do. One thing to discuss in the article. One thing definitely I thought that was great. Now, of course, the article was talking about sharing financial information in a business, but like I said, we flip all the articles and we relate them to our family. Help mold the family financial vision. Like, what is the financial vision? Like, have I discussed that, communicating that with my wife? Where are we trying to go? Like, what is our goals? What are our goals financially? What are our goals financially? Let's make this decision. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, but I didn't always discuss it. I had my own goals in my head, but I didn't always communicate that with my wife. And she absolutely on this journey with me and your significant other, they deserve, if you are handling, if you're the financial leader or you guys working together as a financial unit, which should be, you guys need to discuss the financial vision. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Like, where are we going with this, right? The second topic was results driven, being results driven in our finances, right? Setting targets, having the targets be measurable and achievable, right? Setting targets. Like, look, one of the videos that I did in the past, I discussed family budgets. For example, if we say, hey, we're going to put away, $1,000 a month, for our down payment on our first investment property, or $1,000 a month to purchase a business or a franchise, $1,000 a month to put the down payment on or to invest in securities. Let it be measurable, right? Go through the budget and set those targets. And you don't have to hit all the targets, but let's have some type of target that we're going after, right? And let it be measurable and achievable. Don't just say, okay, we want to have this, but if you don't look at your budget and decide, how you're going to meet those targets, then you might be wasting your time, or maybe harder for you to achieve your goals. Vision. Are you eyeing the future, right? Do you have one eye on the future? What is your long-term vision for your family's finances, right? What's the long-term vision for your family's finances? All right, sorry. What's the long-term vision for your family's finances? Once again, you have to be able to look into the future and not just only have the metrics that you want, but you have to say, look, we want to own 10 properties, 20 properties. We want $10,000 in cash flow. We want to own not only one franchise, we want to have a multi-franchise business. We want to own this amount of shares in our stock portfolio. What vision do you have that you can go into the future, and then with the metrics you use, work your way back into the current place that you are now. Business acumen, right? Do you have the financial metrics for your family, right? What is your plan for increasing your financial knowledge? Like, do you understand numbers? Do you understand the numbers that will help you be successful? Do you understand your savings rate as a family? What percentage of income do you save versus what you spend? Do you understand rate of return? What type of return are you getting on your investments, right? And if you don't know these things, then Google is there. There's so much information. YouTube University, you can spend time on YouTube all day just understanding different metrics. And that's how you improve your business acumen. All right. And then what is your plan for increasing your knowledge? Like, how many books are you going to read? What about podcasts? Podcasts are a great way. This is a video, informative. Are you watching? You're spending time watching television? And not saying you can't do that, but let's have a time where we're learning, right? We're learning, we're reading, understanding information, getting more information, and moving our finances forward. It's about knowledge. It's about knowledge today. Number 5, confident. When you get that information and when the opportunities come, can you address financial problems with confidence, right? Can you address financial issues? They come up, arise, but you have to have faith and you have to believe that with the information that I have, I can work through these things. And you have to communicate that to your family, right? I always believe that, I'm going to work through some things. It's never easy, but I have faith and I believe that, if I'm doing the right things, then, things will look better in the future. And you should be confident. And that confidence comes with learning, understanding, building that vision, all those other topics that we discuss. They go into confidence once you have this thing. But if you don't do any of those things, right, you may not be as confident, in making decisions. And then when you come across opportunities, as I said a little earlier, are you willing? Should be willing, to take calculated risk that will move your family forward financially. Are you willing to take calculated risk to move your family forward financially? Right? When opportunities come, and if you've done your research, you got to step out there. It's not all about reading and learning, but the next step is, put it on the line. And if you save, you get the information, you go back through all the other steps that we just discussed, then when those opportunities present themselves, you're like, oh yeah, we're going to take this. And it's always a risk, especially with investing. It's always a risk, and learning how to measure your risk is one of the things you definitely need to do. Enumerate. Are you comfortable with numbers and financial data? Right? You have to be comfortable with financial data. Like I said, there's tons of information online, books, podcasts. You have Audible books that you can listen to while you're riding. Just getting comfortable with those numbers for your family. If you're investing in real estate, understanding your return, your cash flow, understanding those on your expenses. Even for a family, if you're not investing, still understanding those things. You have to become comfortable with numbers to be a financial leader. I mean, it's just, you can't get anywhere around that. And are you able to leverage insights from the family financial numbers, right? It's not only about the numbers, but can you look into those numbers and say, hey, look, our cash flows, we need to cut down on our expenses somewhere. Let's look at where we can cut. That's not too deep. We need to, this investment looks really good. The numbers look good, but I think that with my skill set, I can improve those numbers, So just having an insight, having insights and being able to go through those numbers and really see the story that the numbers are saying, right? If they, numbers are down right now, but you see, a little bit of improvement in the future, then you will be able to take advantage of those opportunities. But you have to be comfortable with the numbers. You have to spend some time with them. All right. And number 7, honesty. Right? Can you admit financial errors? I mean, we all have egos, especially if this is your thing, and you're like, look, I shouldn't be making these. I shouldn't make these mistakes. But hey, we all make mistakes. Life is, especially financially, is about learning and continue to learn. We just hope that we don't make huge mistakes, right? But if we're taking chances, there's a possibility that we will make an error or make a mistake. So being honest and coming up forth and discussing this with your family and letting them know, hey, look, I made a mistake. My numbers didn't come out right. I've done this numerous times, but being able to really communicate that and say, all right, but this is the mistake, but this is how we're going to fix it. And this is how we're going to work through it. I think it's a great thing. And do you have financial integrity? Like I said, are you trustworthy with money? Are you trustworthy? Or if you know that your money, if you budgeted your dollars, or you've made plans with your family to invest, are you doing that or spending your money on other things, right? You have to have some integrity, and that is very, very important. You have to be honest. So those are the 7 characteristics of great financial leaders. I thought this was a great article. Try to go through this, read the different characteristics. I think they're great things to kind of put in our pocket and to continuously work on, become better financial leaders for our family. Hey, I thank you guys for this opportunity. I know it's 1,000 things on Facebook and YouTube and things, but you taking the time out, I appreciate it. And this is it for this episode. I am Mr. Green, and our goal is to improve the intersection between family and finance. Thanks.